This past week, we hit a new record for the amount of new freehold townhouse listings that have come onto the market between 7 days for the city of Barrie. We're going to talk all about that, what this means for you as a buyer and a seller in this episode of Townhouse Tuesday. So this past week, we saw 19 new freehold townhouse properties come onto the market just for the city of Barrie. Now, instead of reading out all the list prices, I will post them so you can feel free to pause the video and check them out while I talk about what this means for you as a buyer or a seller. So we saw 19 new freehold townhouse listings come onto the market, but we only saw 4 properties sold this week. That's an average of 5 new listings to every 1 sale. 3 of those 4 were sold under asking. Only 1 property was sold over asking, but overall, the average list to sale ratio has dropped down to under 100, between 98 to 99%. There's 46 townhouses currently available on the market for a buyer to choose from if they want to enter the townhouse market today. So as a buyer, this is exactly what you want. This is the type of market that you've been waiting for. If you took a break in February when prices were going really high, then this is exactly what you want. There's 46 townhouses that you can choose from. There's a very good chance that you hold, at this point, all the negotiating power on any one of the townhouses that you choose to pursue. And overall, you can grab a townhouse for yourself for 6 figures, if not multiple 6 figures down from what you could have when compared to February. Now, as a seller, this means that you now have the most competition that you've had in the last 2 or 3 years to sell your property. You need to make sure that it is the best product on the market, that it stands out and that attracts this very much smaller pool of buyers to go and purchase your property. The good news on this is that although you may not sell for the highs that you could have in February if you sold your townhouse, you're still very likely selling for a profit compared to when you bought it. If you look at the history of real estate, in some cases, it took 10 years for properties to appreciate $150,000. That happened in a year and a half, in 2 years for when the pandemic hit. So if you're still thinking of making that move, you're very likely still selling for a profit from when you purchased it, depending on your current situation. And as mentioned, there were 4 townhouses sold this week. 3 of them were sold for under asking as follows. List for $669, sold for $640,000, on the market for 30 days, 710, 28 days, 750,000, 14 days. But finally, this 4th townhouse is an interesting one because they listed for $699,999. They sold for $800,000 after being on the market for 18 days. So that's 6 figures over asking. Now, in that specific street, which we know very, very well, yes, properties were selling for more in February, so they're still getting a good price. However, between the property that sold for $750,000 and the property that sold for $800,000, unfortunately, I can't reveal the addresses of these properties. The one for $750,000 was an end unit townhouse that sold for $750,000, while the one for $800,000 was a row unit. In most cases, end unit townhouses should fetch a higher price. The finishes were a little nicer on the $800,000 townhouse, but the age was also a significant difference too. The one for $750,000 was between 5 to 16 years old, whereas the one for $800,000, I believe, was between the 16 to 30 years old, as it is a little bit of an older street. In this case, the reason for it is because the purchaser who bought the end unit for $750,000 was represented by a local agent, and the one who purchased this property for $800,000 was an out-of-town agent. So in this case, there would have been a potential financial benefit for this buyer to use a local agent who knows the Barrie market specifically. And I'm being honest here, I probably would have directed them to another townhouse because for $800,000, there's 46 active townhouses for sale. For $800,000, you could have gotten an end unit or something very, very done up compared to what was purchased here for $800,000. But the good news is that this seller got a great price for their property for $800,000 for a row unit townhouse, which is a price we haven't seen in a little while here. I know that was a little bit of a rant, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Townhouse Tuesday. Make sure to check in next week to see exactly what the townhouse market is going to be doing or potentially has done. And make sure to go back and pause to check the average list price, sale price, all these different things if you're curious to know exactly what the statistics were. And hopefully next week I'll be able to read how much new listings we have coming to the market. But if we do continue seeing double-digit new listings coming to the market and only single-digit sales, well, that's the perfect recipe for a buyer's market, which we're already starting to transition into. But overall, it's going to be a very interesting summer going forward, but we're going to keep you posted on it.